Hello, hello, most beautiful stars. Hello, hello. It is Wednesday, March 27th, 2024. This is an Edgar Cayce life skills study. I am Courtney, the host of Stars of the Morning Light. Stars of the Morning Light is a full spiritual resource platform with YouTube, Patreon classes, me- meditation podcasts, in person classes, services, all sorts of greatness. I am an hour later than my normal time and an hour earlier than when I said I was going to be here. So I appreciate you all who may show up. And if not, I'm going to do my thing. If you are new here, welcome, welcome. Everyone is welcome. Please stay respectful because everyone is welcomed. So I have been in this Edgar Cayce life skill study, either doing his bio or we are in Secrets of the Universe and how to use them. This is the 1989 version of this, but it's been a kind of a difficult read, not because of content, but writing style, let's say. We are either almost done with this and or I might just be moving on. Today I decided to stick with this and we are in chapter 10. We're going to be starting that. But in the community page, there is, if you scroll down just a little bit, there is a poll for where we're going to be headed next, folks. Because, I don't want to make decisions for y'all. That's not who I am. And so these are the 4 books that are there. We have Edgar Cayce Handbook for Creating Your Future. Now, I don't know because I haven't looked in these yet to look at the copyright laws. I might just be paraphrasing as I do with his bio, but I do a great job retelling and paraphrasing. So, Edgar Cayce Handbook for Creating Your Own Future. That's one of the options. Edgar Cayce on the Millennium. That's another one of your options. Okay. Edgar Cayce on channeling your higher self. Oh, that's been a hot topic. Channeling your higher self. What is a higher self exactly? Right? Edgar Cayce on reincarnation. So I will tell you, folks, this, as of right now in the poll, Edgar Cayce on reincarnation is leading. And it kind of surprised me. I ain't gonna lie, that kind of surprised me. I did not know people were so interested in their past lives. Um, cool, cool. I do Akashic readings, which you can learn all about your past life with an Akashic reading. So if you're interested in that, email me at starsofthemorninglight@gmail.com. I shut down my website around Christmas time because it is most likely going to turn into a New Earth Energy Market website where a lot of people could find a lot of good resources. And if you guys don't know what this is, New Earth Energy Market is events happening every April. This April, it's the 27th and 28th. It's a holistic fair, both Saturday and Sunday in Ringgold, Georgia, about 20 minutes south of Chattanooga. So if you are in the Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee area, come on through. It's a great time. All right, folks, before I start reading, let's take our card. I did draw this card before I started. I hope everybody's having a glorious day. I might have to take more sips of water. It is definitely allergy season, and I am on a lot of Benadryl, and I'm also just, my throat is sore from allergies. We have number 43, transition. The frequency of transition supports our deep understanding of the ever changing nature of existence and our lives so that we can learn to let go, Surrender to the process and allow transition to occur with ease and grace. I know exactly why this came out of the deck today. Transition. That is the sacred geometry to transition. I will try to remember to do a short on this and then tag this video. Thank you all for hitting the thumbs up for me now. Consider sharing this out. I do need more subs so I can start going live with Lucky Stone 888 on Friday nights. This Friday, it is yet to be known when Lucky and I are going to be recording. I have something going on, and Lucky has now gone back to work. We will be around, folks. We will do it for you. And I might not be here at a live at 11, but I will pre-record something for you. I'll figure it out. I got a day. I'll figure it out. Okay, let's get going. Let's get started here. We are in chapter 10, and it is Secrets of Serenity. This, I'm going to read it, and I always break and speak upon things. I will say, like I said, I was questioning if we were going to stick in this book or not. And when I read this real quick, this has actually been very present in my life, and I think others, especially in the past couple of weeks. So I decided that we are just going to continue on with this for right now. And do remember, go to the community page if you want to right now. Jump on over to the community page. Take the poll. Let me know which book we're actually going to jump into. Right now, as past life stuff. So, chapter 10, Secrets of Serenity. The secret to serenity is doing what you know to do about what you know that you can so that you can be what you can be. It's letting others be. Okay. So any of you that are new here, this is why I've been having issues with this book. I'm going to say it in my own way. Um It's actually from a Dave Matthews song who summed up a whole lot of this as well. He said, do what you can when you can. And so what they're going to be she's going to start talking about here, the writer of this, the author who most likely is deceased now. So I'm not trying to talk ill of the dead, but she puts a lot of her own tint on things. Uh she's trying to say, do what you know how to do and let a whole lot of things go. It's letting others be. In 1928, Cayce told a man who'd lost the desire to live to take stock of himself, to take an inventory of his abilities and desires, then let go of the need to have confidence in others in order to live his life. He said to look at the world however he found it most interesting, then assume responsibilities and live up to them. Cayce said that if he'd serve others, he'd form a relationship with himself, that the confidence and trust he'd lost in others must stop being a criteria for his own peace of mind. Our problem today is we often don't comprehend service to others. We're so ticked off at what others have done to us that the last thing we want to hear about is serving them or anybody else. But Cayce said service to others includes putting the responsibility for the harm on the one doing the harm. It doesn't mean blame. It does mean stop enabling people to hurt us by rescuing them from themselves. It means letting go of the belief that we must help, quote unquote, Others because they won't survive if we don't. It means recognizing our participation in our own pain. It means to stop participating in theirs. The Cayce readings contain the serenity principles that have been presented so lovingly throughout the world in 12-step meetings for more than half a century. Universal truth is universal truth, regardless from where it comes. It comes from within. All the serenity, all the truth, all the peace, all the questions, and all the answers are inside, sitting right alongside the pain and all its attendant emotions. But we can't see the peace unless we're willing to look at the pain. We are so closely related to it, related, it's hard to tell which is which. Okay, I'm going to pause there for a minute. So, for those who have been tracking with this from the beginning, like chapter 2, they went over like life principles to live by. And as we were going through this material, I did say this is very similar to the 12 steps of any of the 12-step programs. Um, it's interesting though, because I'm going to be referencing how that can get tricky for others as well as we further along in this. Um, And I also, throughout going through this material, kept telling people this is very much codependent behavior that he is trying, Casey, in his readings, would be trying to inform people to work through, get over, change their codependent thought patterns and behaviors. Tricky, tricky. And so as we read along, that is going to be very prominent as what I'm talking about because it is all very much codependent issues. Um, for those who join us Friday night at 8 o'clock when it's Lucky Stone 888 and I speaking, Lucky brings up oftentimes service to others can end up being harmful. um, Codependent issues. So we are going to go in depth and with a bit of another spice to these things. Um, I want to remind everyone that she started with basically do what you can when you can, do what you know how to do, right? And it's letting others be, let go of others. And how Casey had told a man who had lost a desire to live to take stock in himself, take an inventory of his abilities and desires, then let go of the need to have confidence in others in order to live his life. To look at the world how he finds it most interesting and start living in that interesting as being responsible for that interesting, right? So, many people right now, because of the energies that are being presented, there's a lot of identity stuff happening, and it's the energies, and it's happening with a lot of people because we have always worn masks. And so, regardless if you're in a 12-step program or not, this material will be talking about the masks that we wear and how we do have to let go of others, not just their opinions, but let go of, I don't know, waiting for others to pick up and start doing things, waiting for others to do this, waiting for others to do that. We have to let go of that sort of thing to become responsible of our own lives. So let's continue. I'm going to go back to where we had left off. It comes from within. All the serenity, all the truth, all the peace, all the questions, and all the answers are inside, sitting right alongside the pain and all its attendant emotions. But we can't see the peace unless we're willing to look at the pain. We're we are so closely related, it's hard to tell which is which. To have inner peace and serenity does not mean to sleepwalk through life like a zombie, glazed eyed and numb, unaware of reality. It certainly doesn't mean ignoring the plight of others, explaining away poverty and pain as karmic justice. It doesn't mean walking away from trouble, nor does it mean fixing, quote unquote, trouble, our own or someone else's. It does mean doing what we know to do about what we know so that we can be what we want to be and letting others be. Inner peace is about power and letting go of the lie that we or anybody else has any. God has the power, all of it. But it does but that doesn't make us powerless. To the contrary, tapping into that which makes us magnificently powerful and that times rather glorious. Sorry folks, there's actually words missing here as far as like proper English or how you would just read. So I'm trying to fill in the blanks as I go, so that's why I'm stumbling. There is a particular glory that surrounds the person who surrenders in humility his or her past and future mistakes, embraces the beautiful pain of the moment. Beautiful because we cry in pain and we cry in joy and we cry, and the crying is the beginning of trying, not to make it go away, but to walk courageously through it, feeling every nuance, every speck of what there is to feel. The willingness to walk through the pain is the secret to healing life's hurts. We can't feel the peace until we felt the pain and let go of what's causing it. The pain comes out first and peace follows. In the page before, she had written, it means letting go of the belief that we must help others because they won't survive if we don't. It means recognizing our participation in our own pain. It means to stop participating in others. My teachers, Shri and Kira, um, they like to use a little phrase called partners in pain. And I love that phrase because we can all understand what it is. It is that person you call to da 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 da, da, and then they jump on board. Um, some it's actually good to maybe vent. Some it's good to, um, release with someone if they are capable of them releasing it, same as you. But usually, partners in pain are the ones that when you're down, they will go down with you, and when they're down, you'll go down with them. It's a codependent behavior. I do see Lori in the chat. Good to see you, my dear. And so I just love that phrase, partners in pain. And I love how they keep referencing letting people just be people, which we talk here a lot at Stars of the Morning Light. Letting people just be people. It's not your decision as to how they are supposed to live, nor fix their problems, nor save them from themselves, nor any of it. That's not your job. That's like not your job at all. Especially because if you feel like that means that you're still broken. You're still needing to heal. So how can someone who needs to heal think they're going to heal others? The cause of pain is some aspect of self, but we can't let go of the self until we have a self to let go of. That means own, claim, and embrace every element that makes up life. Write about it in journals. Talk about it in small groups of like minded souls. Get a handle on where the pain is coming from and learn how to let the pain go. Our pain comes from not letting go until we've reached the end of our rope. There we hang, suspended in space, hoping time will stop until we find the courage to turn loose. But time won't stop. It marches on and get left behind. Doing what you know to do about what you know becomes easier when you stop trying to do what's traditionally expected. So she kind of jumped there. She said, most people, the cause of the pain, and this is not, I'm not talking about past trauma. That's pain that we do have to heal from. But at current situations, it's usually a partner in pain situation, codependent situation, the victim triangle situation of victim, abuser, rescuer, victim, abuser, rescuer, victim, abuser, rescuer that we just keep going through, right? All these codependent thought patterns and behaviors. I do want to put out there, folks, that oftentimes when I reference or I refer to codependency, because it has the word dependent on it, people automatically go, I'm not dependent on anybody. That's not what that term means. Please educate yourself. Google it, look it up, look at all of the phenomenal list of thought patterns and behaviors that codependents do and see how you stand with it. I mean, there's a lot that codependents do. A lot. And I can speak about this because I am a continuous reformed, continuously working on it, codependent. I will always be working on that. I guess I'll break here for a moment. Code Queen, good to see you. Um, we talk a lot about the 12-step programs within this because she brings that up. And a lot of what's being discussed here, like I've already said, are in the 12 steps. I joined Alcoholics Anonymous in October of '06. And then years into sobriety, I went to Codependence Anonymous, which I strongly suggest those who are in recovery from substances, once you kind of get a handle on the non using, I suggest going to Coda because oftentimes in the Alcoholics Anonymous, the Narcotics Anonymous, they talk about what is the root of the symptom, that drinking is but a symptom of other stuff going on. Well, the root to many, and it's blatantly obvious when you're in those programs, the root to many is codependency. Truly. I drank because I was codependent. I was drinking at other people. I mean, I literally was. I mean, I would even tell them, "I'm doing this because of you." Weird codependent stuff. You're a disappointment to me, so now I'm going to drink all this beer and liquor and whatnot. Weird thought patterns and behaviors. You're not doing what I want you to do because I'm trying to fix, manage, and control you, all of the world and society, because I'm an extreme codependent, learned behavior from generations upon generations. And so I'm going to just drink myself to death because you're pissing me off. Codependent. That is many people's issues within the 12 steps communities. And it is good to then get to the root and start healing the root. Um, in that, in those communities as well. The reason why I suggest going to Codependence Anonymous is because there are things such as like sponsorship, and you're around other people suffering and other people this and other people that. Partners in pain can become very common. And so, regardless if you're in one or not in one, right? I don't go to 12 steps anymore. But I still work my quota. I still work my quota. Trust me, I'm married. I have to. I relationships. It's all relationships. Um, there's a lot of that, and we're about to head into it. And many people do not, as she just said, they're not looking at the pain that people believe they're suffering is actually based on their own doing. And many times, as we've learned from Secrets of the Universe, Edgar Cayce, it's because of these thought patterns and behaviors of trying to fix, manage, and control others. When we ought to just allow people to be people. That's their journey. That is their journey. We allow people to have their journey. And what's fascinating is somewhere in our mind and our psyche, we actually think that we have that kind of power to fix and manage and control others, that we actually have that kind of power. It's radical. That's why I was drinking, is because I thought I had that power, and then all the humans would show me that I don't, and then I would drink because I was upset about it. How radically messed up is the mind, right? Things that we learn, even subconsciously, we learn all of this stuff from generations of it. It is recorded now. The last article I read, it said 90% of the population of the world, not the Western world, not the whole kit and caboodle. 90% of it, of us humans, have codependent tendencies. 90%. So that means 90% of humans have some kind of dysfunction within their relationship systems. It's crazy. It's crazy to think that. And we wonder how we live in this society then. I'm going to keep going. Get a handle on where the pain is coming from and learn how to let the pain go. Our pain comes from not letting go until we've reached the end of our rope. In 12-step programs, that's called rock bottom. Doing what you know to do about what you know becomes easier when you stop trying to do what's traditionally expected. Your values may agree with traditional expectations, or they may not. For some of us, what we know changes alarmingly often. For most of us, what we know changes. Oh, sorry, I just read that sentence. That's when living the principles works best. We are not required to have all the answers. God does not expect us what we do not. Oh, God does not expect of us what we do not expect of ourselves, but what we expect of others. God expects of us. So it's essential to clarify what that is. How to clarify your expectations of yourself. Do what you know to do and be what you want to be has already been outlined in Secrets of the Soul Guidance. This is chapter 2. In fact, every chapter contains principles to help you think through this business of inner peace. It's serious business. Destiny depends on it. Wars in the outer world are but shadows of wars in the inner world. Your personal peace contributes in a very real way to world peace. Cayce suggests that personal peace is in significant numbers of us is the secret to peace on the planet. So I'm going to read that line again. Wars in the outer world are but contributes in the very, oh, Or sorry, but oh gosh, if I can't read it. Wars in the outer world are shadows to the inner world. Casey would say that if more of us humans had inner peace, it would present itself on the planet. World peace. Because you can't, well, we talk a lot about that. I'm going to go into this personal peace part here. Personal peace comes from taking the focus off yourself and putting it onto others. Yet personal peace comes from taking the focus off others and putting it on yourself. That's the dichotomy of humanness. If you can't help yourself, you can't help someone else. But if you can't help someone else, you can't help yourself. We are all in this thing together. Knowing the best way to help is the trick. In fact, knowing is the trickiest of all. Casey's constant message is it is better not to know than to know and not do. For instance, one of the things we in our society generally know is that lying is wrong. That means telling the truth must be right. Then it is better not to know the truth than to know it and not tell it. Whew. Talk about responsibility. Who wants to call that shot when telling the truth could result in our lives being blown to hell? I don't know. That's a big statement. If you tell the truth, your life is going to go to hell. Now, now don't misunderstand. It is likely that we know It it isn't likely that we know anything resembling truth about anyone but ourselves. If we think we know the truth about someone else, we're making judgments we probably aren't qualified to make. But we surely do know the truth about ourselves, at least partly. The best of us are keeping secrets, lying like rugs to the mirror every morning. We shine up our faces, put on those masks, and greet the day with hearts full of glee and guilt, then wonder why serenity eludes us. Okay, so let's talk about masks and let's talk about lying for a moment. I um I really do try to go within this book, but she jumps a lot of actually let's go back to expectations. She jumps a lot of big topics within short frames. So I'm going to go back to actually expectations. We are not required to have all the answers. God does not expect us what we do not expect of ourselves. Okay. But what we expect of ourselves, God expects of us, okay, or others. It's really bad writing, folks. Really bad writing. I'm so sorry. It's really, this is not me. This is the writing. This is the words on the page. Um, Expectations, as I just talked about, I was in 12-step programs for a very long time. And I do still work a program. It's within me. Eventually, so everybody has this very clear, 12-step programs are supposed to help you recover and heal so you can actually go out and be a productive member of society, not to stay in there and feed the ego. I see it all the time. I see it all the time. Um, that it's very it's easy to stay in those groups because it's safe and then the ego starts being full. Um, but one of the things that I really had to let go of was expectations of self and others. Because a lot of us, and I'm sure there's many in this that are listening, we probably have high expectations of others, but we have even higher of ourselves. So then we tend to fail ourselves. and others definitely fail us, right? And then we fail ourselves. So then we begin to lose the connection with God and we don't trust anyone. And, you know, we have to learn to show up for ourselves first before we can show up for others. Hard when our expectations end up being so big. And so I spent, I think I spent, I mean, it was at least maybe 2 years. Um, I was doing prayers 3 times a day on my knees. I was doing prayers. Um, and one of those at the end, I was praying to be released from expectations of myself and others, to be released from that, to have no expectations of myself and others, no expectations of myself and others, because I knew how severe that was a symptom of my psyche that led me way down the wrong path every time, and why my ego would be so huge. And so I think, yeah, it had to been at least 2 years. Um, on my knees 3 times a day, before work, after work, and before bed. Um, and at the end of everything, I would say, "Release me of expectations," or depending on the mood I'd be in, it'd be no expectations of self and others, right? Claiming it. And eventually, over time, I was capable of doing that, and that's why I'm able more so to al people are people. Allow others to be who they are, let go, 'cause it's not my job. I'm not qualified to make the judgments of them, nor tell them what they should be doing unless they seek counsel, right? Um, but I will say, within me is a very strong code of ethics. And so from that expectation, she kind of goes into that inner peace aspect and do what you know to do what you can do when you can, right? We will go into the whole you have to know yourself and let go of yourself and let go of others and to all sorts of it. We will go into it. But then she's going to start going into the liar aspect, the masks we put on. That is very, very tricky um, for everyone. Everyone is very tricky. And I will tell you, this is why when I first read this briefly before I kind of jumped on, um, this past week from Tuesday to Tuesday, there have been a lot of masks that I've been witnessing. I mean, some just bold faced lies um, within all sorts of communities, online, offline, my world, other people's world, all over the place, right? In bold faced lies. And I believe it is out of fear, desperation, and or ego. But why I'm bringing this up is that, okay, to each their own, right? Wear the mask, have the bold-faced lies, yet I do see the harm. I do see the harm. And so then I will admit to all who are here, that lion heart of mine, that Leo heart, that lion heart goes, this could be harmful to others or that individual. This is not good. And it's been a constant of that since last Tuesday. I've worked through it. I've worked through it. But that's my original reaction is, oh my goodness, this could be harmful. Lionheart in full effect, caring about the effects of people's actions onto others or including themselves because they're unaware of things. Um, but I yet and still have to allow people to be people, right? You can't just immediately go, "Hey, this is not good for you or others," right? And masks are profound. Um, I've witnessed a lot of people because I'm within different spiritual communities. I'm in many different spiritual avenues. Many of people kind of sit on they put themselves on pillars even if they're not aware of it. Um it is spiritual arrogance, and it that is going to be a theme within some of the energies, spiritual arrogance, for probably the next 18 months, definitely. And then it might shift into something possibly even worse, which we're hoping not. Um, so spiritual arrogance is the ego. And these are the people that um, will deliver messages that are probably very good. They're good messages, but they present it as their own, as if they have had all these miraculous, miracle, life changing thoughts all on their own. And that is a mask. Because for me, when I hear, see, take part in whatever's going on, I know where all of that stuff is coming from. And so I do urge those to pay attention to that, because that is a part of the egoic mask that ends up seemingly being put on without noticing. And I think why that happens is because so many people like take the 12 steps, right? Take any 12-step program. There's 12 steps and then there's 12 traditions, to tell you the truth. Many people don't pay attention to the traditions, which they ought to, in my humble opinion. The two go hand in hand. Um, but like take that. There's a lot of cliches. There's a lot of things you learn in those programs. There's a lot of things you do, a lot of transitioning. And a lot of stuff is repeated over and over and over and over and over again. And even those that I'm friends with, and this same thing keeps happening, that maybe something's been repeated over and over and over again. Well, eventually that person wakes up one morning and it clicks. But for some reason in their mind, they think it's an original thought of their own. So many of these people in whatever organization, spiritual community, 12-step program, whatever happens, they take upon all of this information, all of these healing attributes, and they display them and share them as if they are from all of their own original thoughts, instead of giving credit where credit's due, right? Giving credit to the 12-step program, Carl Jung, wherever, Rudolf Steiner, Edgar Cayce, your best friend who had told you the same thing 5 times before it clicked, wherever the credit needs to be due, I suggest doing that, because when I see that thing, I know that it's the ego. I know it's the ego that then presents it, gets all these accolades from all this great information, and it's that boost. It's that, "Ooh, I'm a little bit higher on this pedestal. I'm a little bit higher." In whatever community, it's a slippery, slippery, slippery slope down that pedestal then that people are forming. Very slippery. So, one thing that we can do is we can give credit where credit's due, and it keeps us even keeled. As in, I'm learning this as you learn this, I'm going as you're going through this. You are as I am as you are. So, on top of, there's a lot of terminology. Um, I'm seeing this a lot in the world. And I actually, to the point that I had to look it up. Well, I didn't look it up. My girlfriend looked it up. Robin Lewis, happy hippie holistic, as I was on the phone with her about something, looked up something for me. Um, there are lots of terms in the healing community that definitely can represent one thing, but it's not illegal to use um, when it implies something else. Um, take the word therapy. Therapy is not illegal to use. Anybody, I guess, can just say therapy and attach it to a word, right? Um, and you can see people who are not therapists attaching it to pretty heavy words and in spiritual communities. And it's probably out of desperation. It's probably out of ego, right? Ego. So these are masks that even in the spiritual community, people put on, and you're gonna see even more of it. You're gonna see tons of it. And so I just want I'm offering discernment for all those who are listening, because the masks are they're profound and they're heavy, right? Masks are extremely heavy. Um, and we all have some form of a mask. It could be your mask at your day job, could be your mask when you're with your girlfriends, it could be your mask with this, it could be your mask with that. We do as the situation presents itself, right? It's when the mask is to the point that we don't know that we are potentially harming others and or ourselves with that mask. It's not just being polite and smiling and nodding. It's not just, you know, doing simple tasks and doing what you're told at work because it is your job. It's not that. It's when we're putting on masks and we're not acknowledging, we're not taking that, as Casey said, personal inventory, um, and looking at the actual pain as to why we need to put on a mask in the first place. If I were to ask people that, because this is a life skill study based on Edgar Cayce, if we saw our mask, first we have to see that we're wearing one, and then ask ourselves, what pain does that mask derive from? I wonder what our answers would be, right? I wonder what our answers would be. I'm going to keep reading. Now, don't misunderstand. It isn't likely that we know anything resembling truth about anyone or ourselves, or but ourselves. If we think we know the truth about someone else, we're making judgments we probably aren't qualified to make. But we surely do know the truth about ourselves, at least partly. Hmm. The best of us are keeping secrets. Lying like rugs to the mirror every morning, we shine up our faces, put on those masks, and greet the day with hearts full of glee and guilt, then wonder why serenity eludes us. The universal law of truth works two ways. It sets us free, but freedom is the last thing some of us want. So she's changing topics again, folks. Freedom involves too much personal responsibility. So we give power to the lies, so we give power to the lies the same way we give to the people. We say, I don't give you power. I give you power over me because then you have to take care of me. That means I don't have to accept responsibility for my actions. If I misbehave, it's your fault. Empowering lies are common. I'm just reading through a bit, folks. Serenity requires that we stop lying to ourselves. We aren't required to confess publicly, only privately to ourselves. As long as you do that, as long as you look at yourself sincerely, as long as you do, and then you take the action steps required to break those thought patterns and behaviors. Only after we truly accept the truth about ourselves can we stop blaming everybody else for our lack of serenity. Then magic happens. The mass of tangled emotions begins to unravel one thread at a time. We have the privilege of following those threads to their very end to see where they lead, then coming back to pick up another one if we like. Then their truth leads their truth leads is up to us. Where truth leads. If life as we know it gets blown to hell, maybe it needs to. Maybe that life is filled with structures that have outlived their usefulness. Remember, wrecking balls and dynamite clear the way for new building. Where is it written that what was must always be? We cling to attitudes, emotions, habits, people, places, and things as though life depend on them, when really life depends on letting go of the old. We stand with our hands and minds fully clenched, gripping closed around that old rope, unable to receive anything new unless until we turn loose. When something in your life needs to change, it is always, always, always you. When something in your life needs to change, it is always, always, always you. Never the other person. Never. It's your responsibility to find the courage to stop being someone's dartboard, or maybe it's you throwing the darts. Whatever the situation, courage is the key word to serenity. And here, the key question: what is the most loving thing I can do in this situation? The answer is likely to proceed by find the courage to go, find the courage to stay, find the courage to say yes, find the courage to say no, find the courage to hold on, find the courage to let go, find the courage to act, find the courage not to act, find the courage to speak, find the courage to shut up. I'm going to keep reading in just a moment. So Edgar did propose that the wars in the world are just a shadow to the inner wars within. We are constantly warring within ourselves every time we put that mask on. This is why so many people don't want to leave the house ever. They don't want to go out in public because there's some form of mask that they're going to put on, and it's getting harder and harder to put it on. Then don't put it on. But then we have to acknowledge what fear, what pain created that mask in the first place. And with doing so, we get to learn more about ourselves. We get to learn more about all the aspects of self that we can let go. Before we go on, I want to go back to this part. I want to go back to this part. Personal peace comes from taking the focus off yourself and putting it onto others. Yet personal peace comes from taking the focus off of others and putting it on yourself. That's the dichotomy of humanness. If you can't help yourself, you can't help someone else. But if you can't help someone else, you can't help yourself. We are all in this together. So let's break that down for a moment. Personal peace comes from taking the focus off yourself and putting it onto others. Yet, personal peace comes from taking the focus off others and putting it on yourself. So, now let's put it in the context that I was just trying to say. I wonder if I can change the words quickly and make this happen. Let's see if I can in this moment. Personal peace comes from taking off the mask to focus on yourself. Personal peace comes from taking off the mask that you put on as you focus on others. It's all of that. So, what they're saying is personal peace, inner peace, A, is yours. It's your responsibility to handle. By the way, ain't nobody out there going to be able to fix you. And no one. I mean, yes, if you need therapy, go for therapy. But the real therapy, the clinical therapy. Um, if you need help, seek help. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. But your spouse is not going to fix you. That's not their job. Your spouse's job is to love you unconditionally while you're healing yourself. That's your spouse's job. Your partner, whatever, whomever it may be. Your parents aren't going to fix you. Your best friend ain't going to fix you. Nor do you fix your spouse. Do you fix your partner? Do you fix your parents? Do you fix your children? Do you fix your friends? Do we raise our children? Yes, but there comes a point that, woo, y'all, you're going to have to figure that out, right? So, not our job. Personal peace comes from taking the focus off yourself and putting it onto others. Yet, personal peace comes from taking the focus off others and putting it on yourself. Personal peace comes from not paying attention or caring and letting go and allowing others to be who they are. And guess what? When we do that, we don't have to put on a mask. Because if we're allowing them to be who they are, we surely should be allowing ourselves to be who we are. And then the biggest help of all is living life that way and then showing others they can do the same. Just being present without a mask. That is the best service, hands down, that anyone can do. Period. Period. So as we talk about service to others, because it's come up a lot in this book, I just want to focus on that right now. The best service we can do for others is to not put a mask on. Just be who you are. I'm going to say this. My husband, that lovely man, I didn't understand. I didn't understand his energy. I mean, because I know it in a different form. But all of my friends, all of my family, all of them are cool with having Brad around, even though Brad will think that they're not, because he's a different kind of sort, right? He hides a lot. Like, he'll be around for 20 minutes, and then where did Brad go? He disappeared. Because it's hard for him to handle the energy of others, which is cool. Everybody accepts him. Everybody's groovy with it. It's just who Brad is and what Brad does, right? We don't have expectations on other people. But what I came to understand, like, let's say I was having a girls' day with all of my girlfriends, and the guys were not allowed. All of our spouses were not allowed. Well, then at some point, my girlfriends would be like, "Well, no, Brad can hang out for a little bit. Brad can hang out for a little bit." And what I came to find and understand is that Brad's energy is comfortable for everyone because they immediately do not feel judged. He somehow makes it that they can just be themselves. I don't know, it's a rare thing that it's just his energy. And after I learned other people were feeling that way, that they felt that they could just it was so comfortable with him that they could just be themselves, and what a relief it is that they don't feel judged in any way, and they can just be who they are around Brad. It took a lot of people saying this to me that I came to understand that that was one of the reasons I fell for him in the first place, is because my entire life, I had to be the strong one. I had to be the strong one. My nickname as a young child by the age of 3 was Bubba because I stood like a bouncer outside of a club, like, "Who the hell are you? I need to know what you're all about because I don't trust nobody." I needed that kind of energy in my life that I could just be whoever I am. And it's a very rare energy when you meet someone like that. And so I apparently really need it because I married that kind of energy. But could you imagine if we all adopted that kind of energy? Just allowing people to be who they are, and then we also do that with ourselves. We just take off the masks of expectations, disappointment, pain, fear, jealousy, greed, competition. We take off ego, right? We take off these masks that we feel we need to wear to be present in the world. The best service we can do for others, especially right now, is to remove it for ourselves and then be the living example for others to see it can be done. It's the best. It's the best. So I just suggest maybe thinking about that. Just thinking about asking yourself, asking yourself why we do that. Why do we put on the masks, which is very a representation of we're focused on others instead of ourselves, and we have to focus on ourselves and love and accept ourselves to the utmost. To the utmost. There's nothing wrong with you. Are there maybe thought patterns, behaviors of codependency, as we've been talking about a lot in this book? Are there things that we would like to change? Things that we have to let go of? Yes, but there's nothing wrong with you, right? I'm going to read this last little bit. Find the courage to shut up. That's how she ended that little list there. This last one is the hardest of most for us. Just just shutting up about something is almost impossible. How can we just stand quietly by and let someone do something utterly stupid? Did we did you ever stop to think that your hackling about it constantly is driving them to do it? She then does a whole bunch of series of questions here. That if you'd shut up, listen up, and give the guy or gal a break and have a little more faith, things might work out. Did it ever occur to you that others might know what they're doing, but that their path is different from yours? Hence codependency, fixed man, and controlling others. We've already spoken about it. I speak with particular authority on this subject. Those amends you hear are coming from beloved from my beloved and 3 sons. Thoughts expressed many sometimes fall back dead, but God himself can't kill them when they're said, wrote Will Carleton. Okay. She just kind of goes through some stuff. I'm getting to the Cayce stuff. Besides, the late Hugh Lynn Cayce used to say, "Don't worry about what other people do. They can't get themselves into more trouble than they do. than they deserve. You have to trust the universal law of grace and mercy to give them another chance. Express best in do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I don't know whom to credit this line for, but somebody else once said, I consider myself to be a monument to trial and error. There is a person who has serenity, acceptance of success and failure of our own and others, letting everybody do and be as they see fit is part of peace. Another part of peace is the universal law of consistency. So then there's a page break and goes into consistency for inner peace, serenity. So I'm going to do two little things here. I'm going to do two little things here. So, um, and then I'll let everybody go. I see Empath of Hope came in, doing great. Empath of Hope, good to see you. First of all, that golden rule. I have told this story before on here, but it's a wonderful, wonderful story. And I actually might go even further in depth with it. Um, I had never been taught the golden rule as a child. I had never heard it. And then I walked into my 3rd grade class for the first day. And the teacher, Miss Cook, had in yellow gold, gold letters going around the whole top of the room that sentence, do unto others as you would like to be done to you. And I was just staring at it and staring at it. I mean, I love the color. It was the color yellow, like the sun that just caught my attention. But what also caught my attention is I knew I couldn't read it. And over time of Miss Cook noticing me and spending time with me, that is how she learned that I couldn't read either. Because she would ask me, you stare at those yellow letters a lot. And I'd say, yeah, what does it say? Like, it's been bothering me. What does that say? And she read it to me. And I went, hmm. And I first answered with, well, that's a lie. Well, that's a lie. I'm a 3rd grader. That's a lie. And she was thrown off by that. Um, and she wanted me to explain why I thought that was a lie. And I said, that's not how the world works. People don't live by that. People, do unto you as they, want to do. People hurt each other. That's what I said basically as a child. I said, I think I said those words. People hurt each other. So nobody lives by that, which is alarming. Again, thinking back at it as an adult. Um, but then she over time was like, Courtney, can you read that sentence? And I couldn't read it. So out of that, um, it was clear that I had a lot of issues. It was clear I had a lot of issues, a lot of mental issues, educational issues, a lot of issues, right? Diagnosed with a lot of stuff at that time. Um, Out of that, though, my mother had to come clean to like school counselors and whatnot as to our home life, which then led to somewhat separation of my parents, because it was a very violent household, which then led to me being in different programs and led to a whole bunch of actually at the very end of the day, when all things are said and done, it led that golden rule that I so desperately wanted to learn what it meant. That sentence. I wanted to learn what that meant. And then even when I could read it by the end of the year, because I could read it by the end of the year, I still didn't believe it was real. I did not believe that that could be a possible, real, um, attribute of society and people. until I was closer to my 30s. I just didn't think that's how the world operated. Now I live by it. Um, that rule and that teacher, those golden letters, and all that transpired from that changed and shaped my life. Um, and later in life, um, and later in life, she was murdered by what is referred to as my twin flame, that lovely teacher who really saved my life. And it's funny because that twin flame and I would sit and just read together all the time for about on and off for about 5 or 6 years. We would just sit and read books all night long. I wouldn't have been able to do that if it wasn't for her. I bring this story up not to trigger anyone, not to trigger anyone, but to know that A, the golden rule is very profound and very big in my life, and that is why I don't wear a mask. And what happened at the very end of her life was because of masks being worn. Um, that individual, my ex, um, began to wear masks to an extensive amount, and then he couldn't get away from the masks at all. And he had also loved that teacher, for his entire life. She was like a second mom to him. When we put on masks, small, big, what have you, it is a lie to ourselves. And as we know, lies continue to grow and grow and grow, and they harm ourselves and they harm others. And then we are definitely not living the golden rule, because why would you choose that for yourself? I also bring this up because we talked about partners in pain. Partners in pain. And eventually, you will begin to start seeing who those partners in pain are. And eventually, as that entire chapter talked about, letting people go, letting people be who they are, letting people go. It is not your job to fix, manage, and control anyone. I learned that. I learned that. And I do that now. I live my life by that now. I live my life wholeheartedly by that now. So, do I still see things that rub me wrong? Do I still acknowledge things that are very harmful to themselves and others that people do via their masks? Yep. I say it all the time. It is not my job to fix, manage, and control them, as it is not anyone's. It is my job, though, to question my own mask, if I'm wearing one or not, to question who I should let go, to question pain, hurt, what I might have that is creating a mask in the first place. All of those things I I can do. And for me, I'm going to state the serenity prayer. Many of you know it. I've discussed this with Lucky Stone 888 at one of our first beginning shows, but I'm going to do it again to present it a question. So I've presented many a questions in this video today. This is a life skills. Listen to them. Take stock of yourself. You're the only one, right? Treat yourself as you would like others to treat you. Treat others the way you would like to be treated, right? The serenity prayer is God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now, there is more to it, but that's the short version. I'm going to say it again. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I knew a great, smart, wonderful man. He was somewhat of a mentor of mine who was also in the 12 step when I first got there. He was called Cowboy Bob. He was an older gentleman. He passed away a few years while um, about 3 years in, he passed away. He was a brilliant, lovely old man. Skinny as a rail, wore a cowboy hat and a gun holster in Northern Illinois the whole time. Loved Cowboy Bob. He was a great guy. Um, and one day after a meeting, we were talking about the Serenity Prayer because I was trying to memorize it. And he said, "Well, for you, which comes first?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "Which line for you comes first?" And I was like, "What are you talking about, Bob?" Like, just what? And he said, "Go home and read it. You do have to memorize this, memorize it." And he said, "You need to identify which comes first for you." So I went home and I'm reading it, and I still didn't understand what he meant. So, like, the next day, because I was doing 90 and 90, I mean, I was in it. I was trying to get sober. Um, that means 90 meetings in 90 days every day you go. And I said he asked me afterwards, he said, "Did you decide which comes first?" And I said, "I don't even know what you're asking, man." Like, what, and he just laughed at me. He was a great guy. Very wise, very humble. Love that man. And he said, "Which comes first?" And he said, "Courtney, every line of that, every line of that is something you're asking for. Which do you need first for all of it to happen?" And I was honest with my answer. I said, "Oh shit, I don't know." Like, how am I supposed to know that? And he said, "Go home and think about it, meditate on it." So I did, and I took my time. So I'm going to say it again. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Those are four things. And everybody here is different. Everybody, some of y'all, some of y'all might need courage, right? Some of you might need courage first. Some of you might need to know the difference. That it's very hard because we grow up in very chaotic households and lives that we don't know the difference to be able to get any of that other stuff going. Some, it's serenity. Some, they need acceptance first of the things they can't control. So, which do you need to happen first in order to make it all happen? I will tell you for me, it's the second line. It always has been. I need to accept, I need to accept this is what's going on. This is what these humans are doing. This is what that person's doing. This is what a loved one is doing. This is what they did. I have to accept that this is what these people are actually doing. This is what's going on. Okay, that's what it is. Is it out of your control, Courtney? Yep. Yep. I cannot fix, manage, control, none of that. That ain't got nothing to do with me. That is decisions that they make because they are broken as well. So I actually have to acknowledge that I have no control and then accept it is what it is before I can have any kind of serenity or courage or understand the difference, how to choose differently. That's me. I know people though that the moment they ask for serenity, peace washes over them. Peace. My serenity and acceptance are pretty close for me. Because I do have to say for a long time, when I would be that person, when I would ask for serenity, it would come through and it'd be easier for me to accept. I never needed courage. I'm not that person that needs courage, but there's a lot of people that do. She said it a lot in this book today. Courage to say no, courage to say yes, courage to do this, courage to walk away, courage to let go, courage to stand, right? A lot of people need courage. That was never my jam. I never needed the courage, but I needed the acceptance. I needed the serenity. I needed to know the difference of what I can control and what I can't. So, which one is it for you? What do you need first? If you need courage, right on, man. Right on. You can do it. You can do it. Courage and willingness. Oh, it's the best relationship. Courage and willingness, definitely. So, this has been another life skills with Edgar Cayce. Of course, there are a lot of questions within there that you can ask yourselves. I'm going to read the sacred geometry card one more time and hold it up for you. This is number 43, transition. This came out all on its own, asking you to take off the masks. Transition. The frequency of transition supports our deep understanding of the ever changing nature of existence and our lives so that we can learn to let go, surrender the process, and allow transition to occur with ease and grace. And I'm going to add also is serenity to allow the process of letting go, to allow the process of transition to happen with ease and grace. That is the sacred geometry, with also a line right through it. Sorry about that. Well, beloveds, hit that like button for me. Thank you for circulating it. If it's your first time here, cheers. Welcome, everybody. Lori, thank you for coming. Coke Queen and Empath of Hope. Go over and subscribe, please, over to Empath of Hope. Um, she's doing a great job over there, and I'm sure Dashni and I will record again sometime in the future. And if you are in the Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama area, April 27th and 28th, come on through for New Earth Energy Market. I love you all dearly. I really do. This was kind of a deeper message, deeper message, because I'm seeing the lies that we tell ourselves, the masks that we put on, in such subtle nuances, subtle ways that we don't understand that they start compiling on. That mask becomes very, very heavy. And then soon it's a whole body armor. And then soon we're not ourselves. And then soon we're doing actions that are so far from our character that we would never have wanted. So it's a little bit more intense today, but I know you all can handle it because I know you all shine. And even if you feel like your light's a little dull right now, take a little bit of that personal inventory. Are you hanging out with too many partners in pain? Are you putting on a mask too much to be copacetic with the world and people please? Right? Start shining again because your light, that uniqueness, that beautiful uniqueness of you. Oh, that's what the world needs. I'm going to read the lines one more time and then I'm definitely getting off. This is from Edgar. Wars in the outer world are but shadows of wars in the inner world. Your personal peace contributes in a very real way to the world peace. Cayce suggests that personal peace is in significant numbers. So, more of us and significant numbers of us is the secret to peace on the planet. That's the secret we're looking at, folks. Starts with you. It's always you. Always you, as they said. So, bye everyone. Have a great, great day. Stay tuned for Friday. Schedule might be a little wonky, but we'll be around somewhere somehow on Friday. All right. Bye, everybody.